Loud salawat. So alhamdulillah, the first workshop we had, we talked about, again, what is mental health, what is counseling, what are the taboos in our community, what are the challenges that we experience from getting help, reaching out for help, and the impact on a variety of things in our lives. The second part, we got into the deeper spiritual aspects of what is Islamic counseling and theories, and putting that into what it could look like in practice from a therapeutic as well as from a client point of view. So with those two now, we're going to combine a lot of things that we've learned, new things, and perhaps refreshers, to maintaining healthy lifestyle for good mental health. So this is going to be a bit more practical. I want more engagement from you guys, and we're going to try and do this for a good chunk of time so I don't miss the train. So again, let's begin with a loud salawat. So when we take a look at maintaining healthy lifestyle for good mental health, it means learning about stress, okay, and how it affects us in all areas of our life. Again, we're going to apply what we've learned in the first two to learn about what is stress and how to apply that. So basically what stress is, it's the body's physical response to perceived threat or demand. And when we take a look at it in terms of how our body responds to stress, it's usually with a fight or flight response. So when you see something stressful or that's affecting you, either not deal with it, or you run away from it, or you stay and you deal with it. So that's what fight and flight usually means, right? And so there's a release of stress hormones within our body when we talk about a physiological response to stress. So adrenaline and cortisol, and then so this has an effect physiologically inside of our body. So it can increase your heart rate, it could increase your breathing, increase muscle tension, blood pressure. So it basically pumps you up in terms of dealing. So this high level of release of stress inside of your body, it's a very medical response, but I'm just giving you the highlights here. These stress hormones just course around in your body and they don't have an outlet. And so you're left feeling overwhelmed with the long-term exposure to stress in terms of what it can be. And it can be all of this fun stuff. We don't want to be dealing with these things, right? When we talk about long-term exposure to stress hormones and the effect of that on our organs and how it can affect us medically, psychologically, spiritually, whatnot. So we don't want it to get to that point. We don't want it to get to that level. And so there are certain things that we can definitely do to be proactive in taking care of that stress. So we need to be able to be aware and recognize what happens to us when we do start getting stressed. So the signs of stress that occur, we often ignore them. Or we just have to go, get the task done, go to work, get our schoolwork done, deal with family problems, deal with our kids, deal with our spouses. We don't stop to really think about what our signs are and how we need to cope and deal with them. And so they can also manifest themselves in physical illnesses. So for example, chest pain can be a sign of stress, but it can also be serious heart problems if we don't take care of it. So stress can also come from different areas of our lives, as we know. It could be the physical environment, it could be, like simple things like bright lights around us, noise, traffic, that can really affect stress, right? It could be social relationships within our families, how people interact with us, conflicts with people, or it could be a lack of that as well, loneliness. It could be financial issues as well. It could be organizational levels that we don't have control over, different life events that could happen, ranging from marriage to death to divorce, new children, things like that, starting university, moving, different lifestyle choices as well that can have a huge impact, as well as physiological. So all of these would have impacts on us. And these are things that we all deal with. And this is the language. Remember we spoke about the word language before? This is the language we all understand when we talk about stress. So here we're going to take a look at signs and symptoms of stress. So there's the physical signs, behavioral signs, emotional as well as mental. And again, these are things sometimes we don't think about in terms of actual stress. We're not aware that it's actually stress in our lives that's making us feel these things. They just happen and we just ignore them. So it's really important to be aware of how you respond to stress on all of these levels. Okay, we're going to do a little exercise a bit later on what these signs could look like for us. To know a little bit more about stress is to understand how demands how they affect us. Okay, so when you don't have, let's say, enough time in terms of time or money or patience, and I use the word intelligence there sometimes because it can be frustrating when you're trying to understand and use critical thinking that's not working. That can also inflict stress on you, right? So when it's the perception that you don't have enough resources to deal with the demand, that can also cause stress as well, right? So students, for example, who have exams, they may not have enough time. The perception of time, there's not enough time to get all that in. Or let's say, family's getting ready to have guests coming over for Ramadan and there's not enough time to cook and clean and prepare and all of that. Again, the perception, I don't have enough time to deal with the demand, that can also trigger a stress response as well. Ways of thinking can also contribute to stress. So negative thinking, self-talk, discounting the positive, and always maximizing the negative things that happen. You heard of the expression Debbie Downer? Basically, it's the Canadian expression of how there's always that negative person who's always putting down and just dragging you down. And they make you feel like that too, right? Always that negative person is just the expression party pooper, right? That. And then we all have those in our families, in our communities, and you just don't want to be around these people. They just drag you down. I call them life suckers, energy suckers. You want to be around people who motivate you, energy lifters, life givers, right? Those are the people you want to be around. So a lot of these people tend to be people who discount the positive in their lives and just focus on all the negativity, and you're like, oh, I don't want to listen to this, right? So the sheikhs in our community and the imams who have to deal with all these people all the time, it's not a fun job. And so people ask me as a counselor, how do you deal with this? How do you deal with people coming in and out of your office all day long? You listen to people's problems. How do you deal with it? How do you not go mad? Pardon the pun there, and it is about self-care. And it is about taking care of yourself. Not anybody can get into this field. A lot of people are very empathetic, very sympathetic, and sensitive. We have to learn how to do that barrier and put that barrier between helping somebody, but putting too much of yourself in there. And that's why a lot of people in this field burn out. Alhamdulillah, 10 years, inshallah, going strong, continue, because this is my passion, I want to continue doing that. And part of how I balance my work is, yes, I see clients in the office, but I love doing this. I love going out, meeting new people, connecting, talking about the topic, and of course combining it with Islamic counseling theories and practice. It just energizes me. Although I'm feeling low energy right now, but it's still very exciting and energizing for me to do that. So we always have to find people and things that kind of uplift us and give us that motivation and that energy. So back to ways of thinking in terms of negative here. People who overgeneralize. Again, the terms that women tend to use, I always, never, things like that. They overgeneralize. Sorry, not just women, right? But I'm just being totally stereotypical here. But we tend to overgeneralize problems sometimes, and that can trigger stress as well. Pessimism, overanalyzing, just overthinking, thinking. This, that. You know what I tell people with that one? Especially from an Islamic perspective, why are you worrying about it? Plan ahead, let him worry about it for you. Plan ahead, make your plan, but let him deal with it for you. This is where faith and trust comes in. Self-criticism, blame, exaggeration, perfectionism, demanding of ourselves or demands from people around us, awfulizing, catastrophizing, black and white thinking, not going with the flow. That's a big one as well, right? So these can also contribute to our stress. So now let's actually do the practical stuff. Let's get started in terms of actually how do we manage stress. So before we do that, we're going to take a look at, if I could just have somebody come and pass this around. I'm going to do an activity here on how to recognize your stress print. Take you less than 3 minutes to do this because we want to go with the first thoughts. So basically what we need to do here is we're using this here in terms of how to find your own stress brain. So check off all of the symptoms that you see. Do you want to get one of these? Oh, you didn't get one. You want to pass to the brother? Yeah. So basically what we're doing here is we're taking a look at all the signs and symptoms that you experience. Don't think too much over this. Just tick it off. You guys all have pens and pencils? No? Do we have some pens and pencils to share? Okay. So just tick them off in your mind for now. So like I said, don't think too long as to what these are. Just go through them. And then once you've gone through them quickly, select the top 5 that you experience the most often. And then we're going to share them. All right, so don't spend too much time selecting them. Just write down the top 5 that you have. You guys almost done? So this is actually something that I do in session with my clients when we look at how to manage your stress. We first start off with this to look at how we are experiencing stress and how we respond to stress. All done? I bet you guys never thought about this stuff before, huh? Like how you respond to stress? So you've selected your top 5. Who would be amongst the brave ones here to share this? Go ahead, brother.
Headaches.
Headaches. You have headaches? What are your top 5? Oh yes, give me your top 5.
Headaches, weight gain or loss, changes in sleeping habits, indecisiveness, and loss of sense of humor.
Loss of?
Sense of humor.
Loss of sense of humor. Absolutely. You know, that's a very common one, loss of humor. Yeah. What else? Let's share here. No judgment here, right? We're all friends, brothers and sisters, and supportive of one another, and open, accepting space, right? What are some of the things that you guys experience? I lose my appetite. I lose my appetite. I lose weight. Sleep is affected for me. That's a common one. A loss of humor. Yeah. But a big one I notice for me personally is the eating, because I love my food. I love food. I'm a foodie, and if I'm not eating, then that's a problem. I will force feed myself to eat. Come on, guys, come on. I want to hear more.
Me?
Yes, you. You're just like staring at me. I'm like, okay, share. Your top 5.
Yeah, so I also lose my appetite.
You lose your appetite?
I lose my sense of humor. Irritable.
Irritable.
And I actually oversleep.
You oversleep, so, okay, yeah.
There are some paradoxical symptoms.
Okay.
Yeah, and I get some uncomfortable feeling of nausea sometimes.
Nausea, yeah, that's a common one as well, like just feeling nervous and nauseous. Yeah, how about you, brother? You look like you want to share.
Here, okay.
Yeah, you're.
I guess similar signs. For me, it's predominantly like emotional signs: irritability, worrying, fear,
Okay.
change in sleep, difficulty falling asleep.
Okay.
Preoccupied with certain thoughts.
Preoccupied with thoughts, yeah. A lot of people will lose their focus on certain things, but will be preoccupied with the issue, the problem. Yeah, thank you. All right, sisters, your turn. Who's a brave one here? You can share. You're
Don't
looking
stare
at
her
me.
around because she's
Yeah, you stare at me, then I stare back. I'll make you tell me. Both of you are staring. Go ahead. Experience. Learn. You've learned.
You're under stress, they describe each other.
What was that?
You're under stress.
They're under stress. Yeah.
Okay, I have aches, nausea, sleeping, concentration, irritability. Although I have many more.
Many more? That's why I said select only the top 5. There's a reason. There's a reason why I said select the top 5 things that happen to you the most often. So, you know how we have our own individual fingerprints that are unique to us? We have our own individual stress print. Pretty cool, huh? These are things that will tell you and signify to you, and signal rather to you, red flags, all of the above. When you are feeling stressed, your body's sending you, your mind, your body is sending you signals to be aware. So for example, before a stressful situation happens, or, okay, no, let me, sorry, regather my thoughts here. You know, before something stressful happens, your body is sending you these signals, right? And because you are now aware of your stress print, you know ahead of time that, I'm not eating much these days, I've lost, some sleep, I've become really irritable, and I'm not finding these things funny. Oh, okay, all right, I'm feeling stressed. I have stress now. So you recognize ahead of time, before the big blow up happens, because what happens is when you keep ignoring the signals that your body's sending you, what's going to happen? Those things that we said earlier, right? Remember this here? The long-term exposure of stress, it could fall into these things. You could have a huge anxiety attack, a breakdown, you start feeling low motivation, which could lead potentially to depression later, right? And it could get more serious if you don't listen to your body's signals being sent to you to get your attention. That's why people tend to ignore this stuff, just keep going. But then it could lead to these kind of illnesses. So being aware of your stress print can help prevent a lot of illnesses later on, okay? And so now that you recognize that, you can be proactive, all right? That's why I have here at the bottom, so you can keep track of this here. Now that you're aware of your stress prints, do something about it and select a strategy, and then you can write down what your actual de-stress plan can be, right? So step 1, recognizing the signs and symptoms of your stress print, to be proactive, so that when the stress symptoms happen to you, you're like, okay, I know what's going to happen to me. When I get stressed, this is what happens, and I want to prevent that. So step 2, identifying what the actual stressors are. Look for a cause, right? And in order to do that, you can usually start looking back at some changes that happened in your life. So maybe 3 weeks ago, something happened in your life during that time that is now causing you stress. So you could perhaps talk to people around you, family, your spouse. Did you notice around that time, when we heard news of this of our family, did I start behaving like this? Just reflection here, right? And you can narrow it down to figure out what is causing you that stress. So step 1 is, we're going to keep on repeating this so you have it memorized. Step 1 is what again? Step 1, identifying if you're stressed. Actually identifying. How? Through the stress print. Step 2, look for the actual stressors that are triggering you to feel stressed. Okay? When I have people come into my office, they think that they're losing their mind, they think they're going crazy, and they will use those terms. And I will tell them, relax, you're not crazy, you're fine. You're just dealing with stress. You're just stressed. Because stress can mimic that behavior of, not being yourself, just being disoriented and whatnot. So when you recognize the steps, then it can really help you bring it back. So step 1, what is it again? I want to hear feedback. Step 1 is identifying if you're stressed. Step 2, what the stressors are, right? And it requires a little bit of self-reflection for that. Step 3, identifying the reason. Okay? Step 3, identifying the reason. This can be a little bit tricky because this requires a bit of reflection, introspection, a little bit deeper. And so if we think about the stuff we talked about earlier, in Islamic counseling, spirituality and practices, this can come in handy here, right? Where we take a look at challenging ourselves. How is this specific situation challenging me or threatening, or how is this demanding of me? Why is it causing me to feel this way? Because here we're looking at a situation that is a conflict of values, of morals, expectations, wants, or any of these things. So let me give you an example. Somebody lies to you. Somebody's lying to you. And honesty is an important value for you. That is a conflict of moral values. You know that feeling that you get when you find out somebody's lying to you? How do you feel?
It depends on the person.
Absolutely. If somebody you don't care about, whatever, right? But if somebody close and is meaningful to you, that can be quite distressing. That feeling of distress that you get, that weird feeling, that is a form of stress, as an example, right? So always reflect back. What is the reason that this is causing me to feel so stressed like that? Yes?
I don't know, maybe this is a bit off topic, but although honesty is very important value to us, should we feel stressed if a person keeps lying to us? We expect to have it.
If they keep on lying to you, they shouldn't be in your life. If they're one of the life's energy suckers that we were talking about, you want to get rid of those negative influences, asdiqa as-su, right? Yeah, honestly. But you can't really do that to a parent now, or a sibling, or a partner. But yeah, partners you can if they're abusive, right? But then there's that aspect. There's some people you can't get rid of in your life. So what do? You have to learn how to cope and manage, set boundaries, and we'll get into more of coping with the difficult situations. Sometimes we don't have control. I have a lot of students who come and they live with families and the cross-generational issues and all that kind of stuff. What can we say? Get out of the house? Well, yeah, we live in a society where it's encouraged to get out of the house if you're not happy and whatnot. But this doesn't fall into our value system in our community. We're all about family. We're all about that. But at the same time, it's not okay to be abusive. And there are cases in which there are times where I've actually helped people to help them get out of the house because it was an incredibly unhealthy environment for these people. So these are important things to keep in mind as well, okay? All right, step 4. So what was step 1 again?
Identify.
Awesome, identifying if you're stressed. Step 2.
Look for stress.
Cheating, you studied this stuff. It's okay, it's all good. So step 1 was to identify if you were stressed. Step 2 is, come on guys.
For the stressor.
Sorry? Cause, yeah. Step 3,
Get them out of your life.
get them out of your No, step 3 is the reason. What are the reasons, right? And step 4 is selecting strategy and applying it. Okay, and there are 3 levels. Level 1, if you can do something about it, get rid of it, right? If you can do something about it right away, do it. For example, if you can go to therapy, that's a great start, right? If you can cut out the negative people in your life that are draining you and there's something you can do like that, then do it right away. You will notice a huge difference in an uplifting, right? What else can you do, like, right away? What else can you do? Get rid of things. It's not easy right away to be able to do that, right? If there's something you can do about it.
Maybe putting things in perspective can help.
Reflection.
Yeah, sometimes I think there's more of a cognitive kind of approach. Is, you kind of see, is this such a big deal? Does this really make it or break it?
Yeah, putting things into perspective, reflecting. Yeah. This kind of goes into more long-term strategies, but in the moment, yeah, like, is it worth it? Yesterday we talked about control, acceptance of control. I'll get into that a little bit later. Level 2 has to do with managing all of this fun stuff that you guys have. So how do we manage all of these signs and symptoms, right? So here we can get into using also Islamic counseling practices along with this. So remember we talked about Quran, dua, and salah, right? How can we combine all of that with this stuff here? So breathing. You breathe to live, don't you? You can also breathe in a way that can cause you to feel stressed. You notice when you're stressed how you start breathing? Short, gaspy breaths from here. What does that do? That will increase your heart rate, right? And it just makes you jittery and nervous, right? So what's the opposite of that? Slow, deep breaths. So we're actually going to do this right now so that you guys can take this as a practical exercise, and I'm going to combine a whole bunch of other stuff with it. You're going to feel very relaxed, if not sleepy, if it works properly, right? But I don't want you to feel sleepy, so I'm going to, So basically, breathing as a form of therapy, how it works is you can start by closing off your eyes, grounding your feet at the bottom, like putting them down, grounding, feeling that, and closing your eyes. And we're going to use a bit of visualization and meditation as well as progressive relaxation all at once here. So close your eyes. Take your mind and visualize yourself in a safe space. Visualize yourself perhaps in a space that is causing you to feel happy and relaxed. It's not going to work if you don't do it, brother. So close your eyes, visualize yourself in a happy space, a safe, comforting space, perhaps in ziyarah, perhaps in hajj, perhaps with a loved one, perhaps with a child, perhaps at the beach, perhaps in the forest, perhaps wherever that can give you that inner peace in your mind. Now that you have visualized this safe space for yourself, okay? Take yourself there, go there, go there. What does it sound like? What does it look like? How does it feel? What does the energy feel like in that area? In that safe space that you are in right now. Okay, so take yourself there. Keep on imagining yourself there. Okay? And I want you to start now loosening up the muscles in your body. Loosening them up completely by tensing and releasing at the same time. And I want you to listen to this sound as we start breathing through our nose very deeply, counting up to 4. Holding your breath. Holding your breath, counting up to 8. And exhaling through your mouth, counting out to 7. Pretend you're deflating a balloon when you're breathing out of your mouth. Now breathe in through your nose, counting up to 4 again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Holding your breath. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale now through your mouth. I want to hear this. I didn't hear anything. Exhale. Breathe in through your nose again. Fill your lungs deeply. Hold your breath. Exhale through your mouth like this. Very slowly. Now breathe in very slowly again through your nose. And breathe in all of the goodness and the energy that we have in this room. Deep into your lungs. Hold your breath. And exhale out through your mouth again. Very slowly. Breathe in. Now go with your own rhythm. Going through your own rhythm. Breathing in deeply, holding your breath and exhaling through your own rhythm, relaxing your body, relaxing all the muscles in your body from head to toe. Any tension that you're feeling, loosen it up. And remember, you are in your safe, happy space as you were doing this. You were floating, you were relaxing, you were feeling safe, you were feeling comfortable, very serene, relaxed. Go at your own rhythm deeply, as all the tension in your body is going, gone. And you just feel relaxed all over your body with a beautiful energy that is just flowing from head to toe. And all the tension is gone. You're feeling relaxed, at peace. And you're just floating in that safe space where you visualize in your mind where you are. Keep on breathing. Deep breathing. Now as you're relaxing, keep on tightening and loosening your muscles and keep on doing the slow breathing. Memorize that feeling that you have attained at this moment, what it feels like, what it sounds like, what it tastes like in that safe space that you were in that trance that you are in. And as you slowly become aware of your surroundings around you, the sounds around you right now, perhaps the sound of the fan, perhaps the sound of my voice, perhaps the creaking of the chair, you're slowly becoming aware of your surroundings, relaxing your muscles as you're coming back to the room that we are in. Memorize that feeling that you have. And as you slowly taking in your last breath, holding it and releasing, you can open your eyes whenever you are ready. And coming back to the room where we are all together in this safe, beautiful space right now. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. This feeling that you just experienced, I want you to ingrain that into your memory. As the next time, and it's not if, it's a guarantee when, you feel stressed again, how you were able to create this within you. It took minutes, and you can go back to that space and time anytime. You have the power to create that. Now tell me, how do you feel? How do you feel? Relaxed, it worked. What else do you feel? A little bit more than the word relaxed. How do you feel? Relaxed, yeah, okay. Well, I see happy faces, you're breathing, right? What you were doing, you're getting oxygen where it needs to go in your body. You were oxygenating yourself. Were you guys actually gone somewhere else? Yeah? You went somewhere else. Did you feel kind of almost like woozy and like trance-like and, yeah? You a bit dizzy. Okay, so maybe you were breathing too deep or too fast, perhaps, oxygen, yeah, that can also, but you see who actually didn't feel it? You did not feel it. Maybe your stress levels are too high. No?
For me,
It has to be in French.
everybody can come in the moon. The best performance is a buffet.
A buffet? A buffet. You like food. You're like me. You like food. I get excited about food. Yeah. Okay. So we have to. Maybe what you need to visualize is a buffet.
That's what I tried.
Okay. Why not? Why not? Is there a favorite food that you enjoy?
No discrimination.
No discrimination. All food. Okay. All right, we'll figure that out. We'll talk about that. But there's always one person who ends up telling me this didn't work, or they'll keep looking around. I'm like, close your eyes, don't get into it. You know, it's okay. Did it work for you, brother? I'm picking on you. Yes, you. Because you kept having your eyes open. I'm like, close your eyes.
Yeah.
It eventually kicked in? It didn't really work, huh?
Not really. Maybe I'll be concentrating on that.
Perhaps, and that's another thing. It really sometimes it's hard to concentrate and get yourself away. But for those of you that worked, now you have an extra strategy in your toolbox to take with you. And we combine a few things, like we said. We did breathing, progressive relaxation, meditation, visualization. Now, how do we apply some of the stuff we learned earlier is perhaps a favorite latmiya that can put you in that trance, or a noha, or a nasheed, or a dua, or a favorite recitation. I love my man Tablawi, he's really good. He just takes my mind, just like gone. You know, the way he recites is just so beautiful. So you can find what works for you. I enjoy, it's not haram, by the way, listening to relaxation music, depending on what marja you follow. Our purpose here is for self-help and care, and you know, anyways, the music is a whole other discussion. But you see how it can be effective in a good, positive way with your niyyah. So exercise, your number one stress reducer. Number one stress reducer. Remember those stress hormones we talked about earlier? They're just coursing around in your body, although you got rid of it now, so you're feeling pretty chill and relaxed right now, right? But stress hormones, exercise can get rid of them. You go to the gym, work out, dance, or whatever, that kind of form, vigorous activity can get rid of the stress hormones. Endorphins are released into your system, happy hormones, which is why you feel so great after a workout. Natural route, okay, balance. Humor, which is one of the first things to go, we notice when we're feeling stress, and some other ideas as well. Having a healthy distraction or a hobby, photography, art, collecting cards, stamps. What are some hobbies that you guys have? Hobbies? Video games? No, that's not a hobby. That can be quite destructive when we talk about addictions, right? Healthy things, right? So think of how you can incorporate some kind of healthy distraction in your life. Volunteering, perhaps, right? At the center or other centers as well. So long-term strategies have to do with the negative thoughts we took a look at earlier, right? So long-term strategies, how to be a positive thinker, how to end negative talk, how to look at things in a positive way, how to practice positive language. So instead of using the words, I can't do this, I just can't, you know. You're limiting yourself right there, your mind and your body. So we take a look at, for example, the word I can't, you can say I can, but I choose not to. I'm not going to take on 2 part-time jobs, 6 classes, you know, responsibility at this center, that center, et cetera, et cetera. So things like that, being aware of your limits and your boundaries. But using positive language is taking control back as well. Remember we talked about locus of control, those who came to the lecture yesterday at McGill. So recognizing and being aware that, you know, we don't have control over things such as the weather, such as, you know, family issues, people, you know, things that we don't have control over, assignments, things like that. But what do you have control over? We lost power, I think. What do you have control over? I think the battery. In any case, so think of what you do have control over. You have control over your thoughts, perhaps, your behavior, right? How you choose to respond to a negative situation. You have the split second of choice. Remember we talked about willpower and choice earlier? Do you remember that? How can you incorporate that here? You have the means around you to help you deal with a problem. Use that around you, right? So how can you avoid being influenced by others? Again, like we said, get rid of people in your life, right? The negative influences in your life. Disputing irrational beliefs. This is a big one when we're dealing with overanalyzing, overthinking, you know, just having anxious thoughts, thank you, things like that. Seeing problems as opportunities. This is one of my favorite ones that I use in therapy, and I think it's very relevant to Islamic counseling, is when you are encountered with a difficult, challenging belief, how do you choose, how can you work with that? You can say, well, you know what, I am, thank you. You know, we can say, yes, we are dealing with a very difficult situation, but how can you have fresh eyes on this difficult situation? How can I choose to make this difficult situation an opportunity for growth, meeting new people, developing new skills, expanding my horizons, and being able to develop yourself? It's a chance for self-development, right? When you have the choice and the awareness to take care of things, okay? Relabeling emotions, building different skills, time management. And I was encouraging people yesterday, if you know support services on campus or in your communities, take advantage and go and take care of that. To learn new skills such as time management. Talking things out with somebody, right? Go see a counselor, do that, why not? So what was step 1 again? Identifying, good. Step 2. The cause, right? Reason, step 3. Step 4. The strategies, right? And there are 2 levels. Level 1 is do something right away. Level 2 is managing the signs and symptoms. And level 3 was the long-term strategies, right? So step 5 is evaluating yourself. So in about a week or 2 of honestly trying all of these things, okay, that we talked about, ask yourself, am I still stressed? Chances are, if you meditate and do the breathing that we did every day, and you can do that in time, by the way, you notice, you can just stop while you're sitting on the bus or on the train or wherever, you know, if somebody's like stressing out, freaking out, being angry at you, you know how you can really upset them? Just stop and start meditating right in front of them. It's supposed to be a joke, right? Because you're going to irritate them even more, right? Just giving them silent treatment while you breathe. But you know, anger is very contagious, right? So imagine if you do slow down and start breathing and doing all of that, you can actually affect those people around you as well. But anyhow, in about 2-3 weeks, you should notice that your stress levels have gone down. Right now, your stress levels are way low, right? Uncle, you were in that trance. You were still in that trance, huh? I noticed. So you're feeling very relaxed right now. So this is just proof right now that this worked, right? So imagine if you do this daily. Your body will get used to that. Just like our bodies get used to fasting after, a few days in the beginning, sometimes it's hard, but then you adjust to it, right? You notice when you miss a prayer, you're late for a prayer, how do you feel? That anxious feeling, right? Like, oh, I missed my prayer. Oh, I didn't get up for Fajr. Oh, just the rest of the day, right? Why is it? You have trained your body and your mind to do something. It has gotten used to it. So if you apply these strategies over the next few weeks, your body and your mind will get used to this routine and you'll want to continue doing it. Top 3 things is stress-proofing yourself, okay? Oh, by the way, if, let's say, over the last, if it didn't work, these strategies, go back and reevaluate to see what did I do wrong, what can I improve, what can I do to make it work? Because everybody reacts to stress differently and everybody has a different way of dealing with it afterwards. Because what could work for one person may not for another. How do you stress-proof yourself? Top 3 things: eating well, sleeping well, and exercise. If you can learn to balance those 3 things in your life, anything that you get hit with, you're going to be able to handle better, right? Now, if you're not taking care of these 3 things, what's going to happen to your stress symptoms? They're going to go out of control, right? But if you have these 3 main things in balance, eating well, sleeping well, exercise, and you're hit with a difficult situation, you are more likely to handle that challenging situation, okay? And so some other things as well. I know, inshallah, drugs and alcohol is not relevant to our community, but we know it does happen. Smoking, we know the effects of that. Establishing healthy relationships, of course, around a positive attitude. تَفَاءَلُوا بِالْخَيْرِ تَجِدُونَ, as it says in the Quran, having that positive attitude, you will find goodness in that, right? Building skills, being creative, and of course applying the strategies that we spoke about earlier. Make your changes slowly. Sometimes you can do things right away, right? But it's easier when you try something. Like, for example, today, I hope you guys are motivated after doing that combination of 4 or 5 strategies we did in one. You notice how it worked for you. So hopefully that will motivate you to make more changes in your life, right? So when you make changes like that and it works, it increases your confidence to try and tackle more challenging changes. Don't be discouraged by setbacks, right? This is a learning experience. Learn from them. And find out how others are doing things that works for them, like student strategies, things like that. What could work for one person may not necessarily work for another. So just be cognizant of that. Finally, what we did right now is just the basic tips on maintaining healthy lifestyle for a good balance. There's so much information out there that I encourage you to, go to other workshops, talk to other people, read online, get some good books. There's a really good book about stress between men and women. It's called Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. When Mars and Venus collide, learning the different stressors for couples, things like that. That's a really good one. That whole series, by the way, The Men Are From Mars, is a great series. I read the one book and went and bought the entire series because I find it so useful for relationships, people before they get married, while they're married, things like that, to learn how differently we are. I know it's more Western concepts. However, when I used that with the clients from different backgrounds, it was irrelevant. It really works across cultures. So that's a really good resource, but the stress one as well. But there's lots of stuff out there that you can follow, like find meditative, like how we did the meditation today? Online you can find some great YouTube meditations to follow along as well. And of course, if it gets too much for you, when we talked about the signs of stress and how people can be really in an unsafe space, do reach out, call distress centers, they're anonymous, go see a doctor, reach out, talk to somebody that you can trust. It's really important. One last thing, that was a question that was brought earlier, and I want to bring you to your attention. So when we talked about prayers, when you have somebody who is not well, when I mean not well, they're depressed, they're suicidal, they're anxious, and they come and and they're telling you they can't pray, they're not. And then what is the first answer that our community elders tell us? Your faith is not strong enough. Right, we talked about that earlier, right? Your faith is not strong enough. So how will a person actually do their prayer if they're not feeling it? They're like, well, that's also an impediment because they feel so guilty that they're not praying, right? So I actually tell people sometimes, okay, put your prayer aside right now. Let's focus on getting you the assessment, getting you diagnosis, getting you support. Do the natural route. If you need medication, we'll do that as well. Get your eating back on track, get your sleep back on track, exercise, feel good there. Remember we said changes? Making changes makes you feel better and more confident to build. Eventually when the person's feeling a little bit at peace, how are they going to approach prayer or du'as or the traditional healing? They're going to be more open to working with that. Right? So we don't want to guilt people, make them feel worse. The very things that they want to use to practice with feeling better sometimes can stand in the way immediately, right? So we want to work with that together and combining them. Does that kind of make sense? Yeah? Any quick questions? For longer questions, I do encourage you guys, if you want, contact me personally and I can we can have discussions. I can't do therapy with you, but I'll at least be able to give you some advice or direction. Any quick questions about this presentation today? Or anything else we talked about? It's quite draining, huh?
Maybe a quick comment about prayer and Islamic prescriptions for health and mental health and well-being. I think we unfortunately or some of us, or at least in my experience, is that sometimes we look at them as duties. And unfortunately we strip them out of their healing capacity. But when, for example, and especially at least kind of parenting, maybe if we pray and we really stress on the fact, that felt really good with the child or something, or maybe Sunday school, to really emphasize the good that prayer brings in our life. The more we stress on that, we will use prayer to feel better. Whereas we usually do prayer
because we have to, out of guilt,
out of duty. And any treatment, if we believe in the treatment, for it to bring goodness or healing in us, it's gonna work. But if you don't believe in the treatment, it's not gonna.
And these are the things we touched upon earlier, right? With the client therapy as well. If you believe in, yes, and it's very holistic that way. And that's why we were when I was mentioning earlier, it's so important that when we teach prayer, we also talk about how it can be a form of meditation for us, and how it can really help us with focus and control as well. But these are things we don't talk about when we talk about prayer or learning about prayer. But if we can look at it, again, I want you guys to get out of this today a different lens of looking at things we already know about. There's a lot of things here that we already know, that I didn't teach you anything new today. The thing that I hope you take out of it, like I said, is the new perspective, a different perspective of looking at things that has existed long before 1400 years ago. I refer to the beginning of Islam, right? But if you look even beyond and before that, we had forms of prayer before Islam came along. This is just the way we do it, right? In Judaism, Christianity, and other faiths, they have different forms of prayers, but this is the way we do it, right? So it's existed all along, but it's the way, our lens of how we look at this and how we make it important to us. And yes, if you look at it as a healing source, it will heal you. This is what we talked about earlier with positive language, how you use that language.
It is,
And
I mean, even the Quran says that it is shifa.
shifa.
But yeah, we really have to kind of look at it.
Thank you. Any other quick comments, questions? Yes.
Actually, I think normally we see is prayers like some spiritual effects that they can make on us, or for example, reciting Quran feels and make some feeling, or salat or dua, something. But most of the Muslims do not think about the meanings of what they are reciting.
We just read it, yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that there is a great effect by only reciting Quran or Salat, as we explained, for example, the behavior we do during our Salat. But I think the most important part of the matter is the meaning. If we pay attention to what we are discussing with God, it is a two-way relation, and when reciting Quran, and also for Salah, it is not only just the feeling of some spiritual effect, but it is finding it and enduring paying attention to the meanings, because for example the meanings of Surah Al-Hamd has lots of things to pay attention every time we recite it. This is not something repeatedly. It is every time repeated.
We have different meaning and connection to it.
Yes.
Absolutely. This goes with anything, but like if you look at poetry, if you look at anything that has that inspiration, it gives you that. So imagine the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what it does to your spirit and your soul. Because again, when we talked about how the nafs is drawn to that, right? It's beautiful, it's incredible. And again, these are the things that, when we learn about our faith and the duties and the responsibilities, it's not taught from the spiritual aspect. It's like you have to do this, otherwise you're going to burn in hell. It is sometimes just black and white. How many times have we heard our mom say that, So it's again how we choose to learn and how we teach our kids and how we teach ourselves. I'm still learning about this, even though I'm doing this. I'm still constantly, like you said, looking at it with a different eye. And sometimes I'm like, ooh, next time I'll present it this way or that way, or because it's something new that we learned. So all of you now have become ambassadors of mental health, inshallah, today, in some way or form, from an Islamic perspective. And for those of you who attended, inshallah, please don't forget to leave with your certificate of attendance. If I have time, we'll write your name. If not, you can write your own name on it, okay? To have that with you. And inshallah, we can do more of these kinds of events. And also for the youth as well, tackling different issues and different struggles that they encounter in school, at home, and amongst ourselves, inshallah. So this is just the beginning, inshallah, today. Thank you very much for bringing me here. It was an honor to serve in the name of Ahlul Bayt to this beautiful community here over the last few days. And God bless you all. Inshallah, we can repeat this again and again, inshallah. Thank you very much. Sallallahu alaihi wa sallam.